Hey guys, welcome to Wallerland. Today, it's another solar bank video. Specifically, it's about my 6-month review of the Anker Solix Solarbank 2 Pro. You requested that I share my long-term conclusion on this topic. And since I will be remodeling soon, now is the perfect time to talk about it. It has really been almost half a year since I put the Anker Solix Solarbank 2 Pro into operation. Initially with 1 expansion battery, then with 2 expansion batteries, I had a maximum of 4.8 kilowatt hours of storage. I also filled it up in the summer. In any case, I have now created a bullet list of various topics. I'll just go through them now. I will also show you the app later, what I found positive and what I found negative. Then, you can decide for yourselves whether it's worth it or not. Maybe just this much about the installation. It all goes through the Anker Solix app, and that's actually child's play. I don't have to say much about it. It's illustrated in the app, and you can't go wrong. Also, regarding the plugs, everything is clearly labeled, showing where you need to plug things in. You have 4 MPPTs which are nicely arranged, so you can't go wrong there. I myself have used it with 4 panels. For a while I also had 5 panels, where I used 2 panels in parallel on 1 MPPT, which worked without problems. Yes, overall I can say that I have also reached about 2 kilowatt hours peak in the summer. It was a perfect day, the panels were perfectly aligned, and I generated 1.95 kilowatt hours. So that is generally possible, I can confirm. It's usually only achievable for a short period each year, mostly around May and June. After that, the panels usually get too hot, causing them to lose some performance. But, as I said, the peak is 2 kilowatt hours. And I feed in a maximum of 800 watts. And that has worked without any problems. A question that has often been asked is, well, what does the solar bank itself consume? And I have heard various numbers, never anything official, but what I have personally found is that you can expect around 20 watts. When the thing is off, it obviously doesn't consume anything, but when it is in operation, it uses about 20 watts per hour. What I will do now is I have my phone here, and I will just record the app, and then we can talk about it, because I will touch on various points that are important in the app. Maybe. We can generally discuss the structure of the app, and there. I actually find it very well organized. You can see my smart meter, my solar bank here. I have also been using the smart meter for a while now, almost a month after I put the solar bank into operation. It has worked very reliably so far. I haven't had to do anything major. And in that respect, it is a good alternative if you don't already have something like a Shelly 3EM in use, because NKD now supports it as well. What you can see with the smart meter is that you can always see what electricity is currently being consumed and what is being drawn from the grid, as well as what has been fed into the grid. You can easily view this here. I would wish that these statistics could be utilized a bit more, that one could scroll through them properly, and that the data could be exported properly. Unfortunately, that is not quite possible at the moment. But for a first glance, for most people who don't have some kind of IoT installation at home, it is completely sufficient. With the solar bank itself, you can set the different modes here. The self-consumption mode is quite practical. If you really have a smart meter, then you can almost achieve a zero feed-in, where only what is needed is fed into the house. That has actually worked quite reliably. Yes, there are always a few peaks where a few watts are wasted, but in my opinion, that is negligible. Otherwise, I am currently using the device in custom mode, where I have set how much it should feed in, and I make sure that the basic consumption is covered, if there is even that much sun available. The topic is what has often been asked, well, how does it look with the temperature in winter? We are now in mid-November. Outside the temperature is about 3 or 4 degrees, and you can see the battery is still at 8 degrees. So it is above the outside temperature. In summer, it has been noticeably warm in my garage, but still, it was never over 40 degrees or something like that. So, fortunately, I never had that problem. Then you can also see here the battery charge input. At the moment, everything is going into the battery first until it has its 10+%, and then it decides when it can feed in, but I can spoil that in advance. Currently, it's pretty poor, because I'll just show you here what solar energy has come in over the last few days. And it was really quite overcast. I think I had one day where I had 5 kilowatt hours again or so, but I'll put it better here in the weekly display. There was one day at the beginning of the week that was sunny again, when the battery was also charged. But you see, even with 2 kilowatt hours peak on the roof or garage, it is already difficult to generate much electricity now. And one can certainly consider whether the batteries are really just put away in winter, charge them a bit, lock them up, and then just directly feed in the electricity with an inverter or something like that, so that you don't even charge the battery anymore. That's something to consider. I'm doing this as a test, so I'll let it continue running, but you just have to be aware that it will be a bit poor with the sunlight towards the end of the year. And not just the sunlight itself, but also the angle of the sun. And if you don't have the perfect roof where everything is always shadow-free, then you will get more shadow problems. The statistics are quite nice. There was also an update at some point that you can really view the individual PV inputs. It looks fancy again, then you can really see how each solar panel is oriented and stuff like that. But again, it would be nice if you could export this data properly. And that brings me to the next point, which might deter or disturb many people a bit. The topic of smart home integration. So there is, whether it's an IO, broker, home assistant, or whatever else, there are various platforms, and Anker is still a bit behind. There is still no native support that allows you to really integrate it with a home assistant or IO broker. There are workarounds. People from the community have built something from time to time that allows you to do this, but you have the problem that only one person can log into the Anker app at a time. And if you store the access data in Home Assistant and it gets your data from the Anker server, then you can no longer use the app. Because every time you log back into the app, it kicks out the Home Assistant. I hope they fix this someday, because there are other manufacturers where this works better. But you can help yourself by creating a guest account and this and that, but it's all not quite smooth. There is still potential for improvement. After all, Anker now also supports Shelly & Co. I will take a closer look at that when I get the chance, because at the moment I am using Smart Meter, so I have no need to do that with Shelly. But yes, otherwise, we might get to the problems I've noticed. And I have to say they were relatively minor. I would say 99.9% of the time. The thing worked reliably. There was one day when the servers were down and nothing worked at all. Everyone was complaining in the forum, but that was just one day. Since then, I haven't had that issue again, so I can't complain about that. And one thing that I noticed, which didn't bother me, is that especially in summer, you can hear the solar bank humming a bit. So if the thing was standing in the living room, it would annoy you, but if it's in the garage or under the roof, I think it doesn't matter. But I noticed that. I don't want to call it coil whine, but you can definitely hear the solar bank. Yes, and otherwise, there is actually only one. Reason why I will soon replace the solar bank with something from Sendur, the Hyper 2000. Specifically, I use a dynamic electricity tariff with Tibber. And the solar bank doesn't help me much, because I can't charge it. That's why it would be nice if you could charge the battery with a dynamic electricity tariff during low prices, to then discharge it during peak times. Unfortunately, I can't do that with the Anker Solix Solarbank 2 Pro. However, I'm quite sure that the next version of the Solarbank 2 Pro will also have this function, because it seems like every manufacturer is doing it now. Even if it is still a very debated topic whether it is still a simplified balcony power plant or not. But okay, I will just test it to see if it makes any sense, because there is always a bit of loss when charging and discharging the battery. But let's see. Now I've talked enough. So, as I said, basically, the Anker Solix Solarbank 2 Pro is a super solid product. It works. The prices have dropped significantly since the release. And if you really have a need and use 4 solar panels, then this could be something for you. If you only have 2 panels anyway, then the 2 Plus or the 2 model is also completely sufficient. However, with the 2 model, you need an inverter again, so it's better to take the 2 Plus, then you won't need an external inverter, and then you're good to go. And then it's enough if you have 2 panels, 1 solar bank will suffice, and you won't need any expansion batteries or anything like that. Yes, thank you for staying with me until now. Feel free to leave a thumbs up, and I wish you a nice day. And if you're interested in what I'm doing next, feel free to subscribe, because there will be a few more videos on new solar products coming soon. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye.